Trump, even just the other day, said he'll be partners with the new Ayatollah and run the Strait of Hormuz together. He's backed
Did he
off.
say that?
Yeah, he's backed off of regime change. Or
Bro,
there's
hold
the
on.
idea
Are they
that
even talking to him? Is someone talking to him? Like, who's he talking to? Do they know who they're talking to? Because it's not like they're meeting.
Donald Trump said
some guy's on the phone. I am free to negotiate.
Dude, he said, Donald Trump himself said the other day that that he goes, we're negotiating, negotiations are going great, and they go, who are you negotiating with? And he goes, a person we believe to be in charge. And then they said, so is this the new supreme leader? And he said, no one's heard from that guy. We don't know where he is.
Some hacker in his basement in Belarus. And
it's
he's
not
talking with an Iranian accent, and he's got them convinced.
Well, it's just,
I have the authority to negotiate. Let's be partners. Let's be fair. Wire 1 million Bitcoin to this address.
well, everything I'm seeing publicly reported today is that Iran is like, no, we're not in these negotiations. We've made our terms clear, and their terms, what they're asking for, is something that Donald Trump is not going to be able to give them.
What's that?
Their demands were that we stop attacking them immediately, like that part they might get, that we pay them restitution for all the damage so far, essentially that we leave the region. I mean, they had a few other things there that were just like,
and they wanted to open up a Terry Blackson
This one was really important to us. If we could just get
one Terry Black's barbecue. We don't have good barbecue here. It doesn't seem like if he's not really negotiating with this guy, if it's like if that's not true, and he's just like putting this out there in the public as like a negotiation ploy, what a clusterfuck. Because you're dealing with people that don't mind dying. They believe. I mean, these are very religious people. They're fanatical. They believe they're going to go to heaven. They believe they're martyrs. They're fighting for Allah. This is the just and holy war.
Well, they've been
attacked.
Well, that's right, and they've been preparing for this for a long time.
Yeah.
And they there's people make a lot out of the chants that the Iranians they chant "Death to America." And
what do you got there, Jimmy?
Iran's to be able to control the flow of oil?
Be jointly controlled.
By who?
Maybe me. Maybe me.
You want the United States to be
Me and the Ayatollah, whoever the Ayatollah is, whoever the next Ayatollah. Look, and there'll also be a form of a very serious form of a regime change. Now, in all fairness, everybody's been killed from the regime. There's automatically a regime change. But we're dealing with some people that I find to be very reasonable, very solid. The people within know who they are. They're very respected. And maybe one of them will be exactly what we're looking for. Look at Venezuela, how well that's working out.
I mean, dude, this is such a fucking mess. This is such a mess, dude. I mean, this is just too ridiculous, dude. And the thing is that a lot of people, I've spent a long time at this point being against this war, because this war has been telegraphed since, the Bush administration wanted to do this shit. And at least for like 15 years, I've been publicly opposing this war. And one of the reasons why so many of us oppose this, and it's a shitty way to be vindicated, but is that, look, Iran is just not like any of the other opponents in the global war on terrorism. It's a different beast entirely. And you've seen this already, only 3 weeks in. We never dealt with any of this with any of the other countries. You know what I mean? We had what the Pentagon calls escalation dominance in all of those other wars, which is all essentially like, it's just like, meaning like, if you do this, we do this. If you do that, like, we're prepared for everything. It's kind of like escalation dominance is a lot like, like in jiu-jitsu, where you see really high level guys who basically put you in a position where you can make one of two choices in either way. Yeah. Like, okay, you can give me your back and I'll choke you, or you can push off me and I'll armbar you. And like whatever option you have, I'm gonna get you. We don't have that with Iran. The Pentagon's been open about this since at least 2007. And the fact is that, as we're already seeing, they can target ships in the Strait of Hormuz, they can target our assets, our bases, our embassies in the region, they can target our allies, and this is a big problem. And so, like, it seems like Donald Trump got into this thinking it would be like Venezuela. It would be quick and bloodless and easy, and he could claim victory. Now that it's not gone that way, it seems like he's kind of scrambling for what the off-ramp is here.
Yeah.
Now, at least I give Donald Trump, as angry as I am with him, like, at least it is true that he's looking for an off-ramp, it seems like. And he did this with the 12-day war, right? Like, he started the war, he saw an off-ramp, and he took it. The problem here really is that this war changed the calculation from the Iranian perspective, and that much is clear so far. You know, after 9/11, all the countries in the Middle East and North Africa, all the ones where essentially they all waved the white flag, all of them. Saddam Hussein welcomed UN inspectors in. He was trying to do anything he could to not meet the fate that he ultimately met. Gaddafi denuclearized, got rid of chemical weapons. Bashar al-Assad got rid of all his chemical weapons. Like, they were all just like, we don't want it with you, you know? And Iran was very much the same way. They got into the JCPOA. They allowed an inspections regime in to come look at their nuclear facilities, all of that. And even up to the 12-day war, when we dropped the bunker buster, Israel bombed a whole bunch of regime targets, they still, in their response, called ahead, made sure there'd be no U.S. Troops there. They hit the side of a little base there, and then they kind of went like, they gave Trump an off-ramp. Because they didn't want it, you know, they didn't want it. They don't want to die like Muammar Gaddafi. They don't want to, you know, have their country destroyed. So for self-preservation reasons, they showed restraint. The calculation this time, clearly already from the Iranians, was that we can't do that again. We have to give you a bloody nose and a black eye. We have to make this cost as much as possible for you. Otherwise, you guys will just be back here in another 5 months doing it again. And they're probably right about that. And so now we're in this situation where we're already in a quagmire. It's already like over a dozen Americans have died. There's I think a couple hundred wounded at this point. Israel isn't giving real numbers on what's going on there, but there's some pretty substantial damage, and definitely some Israelis have died, and I'm sure thousands of Iranians have died at this point. It's cost, I mean, Pete Hegseth just asked for $200 billion. I don't know if it'll get up to costing that much, but this thing is certainly already in the tens of billions if you consider munition, military movements, and then just the damage to embassies and bases and stuff like that. I mean, this thing is already a disaster. And so now, it's not like Venezuela, where Donald Trump could just stop and declare victory. And even say, like, look how great it's working out. Now, is Venezuela really working out that great? I don't know. That's, you know, we took one guy away. The regime's still in place. The people haven't been liberated. But whatever, he can claim that. This now, the problem here is that, okay, number one, Donald Trump's not really in a situation where if he just quit right now, how's he really going to say, look how wonderful this is? It's like, I don't know, dude, this cost a lot already, and it doesn't seem like there's any clear, like, what did we get out of this?
The only way it would work is if there was some sort of a deal with whoever the fuck is going to be the new guy in charge, and they did come to some sort of an agreement, and they did give them some compensation for all the shit we blew up.
Yes, well, that, right,
so they'll just print some more money for that.
Sure,
and inflation
perhaps
will go
that's,
up.
but look, here's the thing, is that it's not just Donald Trump. There's two other participants in this war, two other entities in this man. And look, I mean, it's not, again, this isn't like a conspiracy theory. The guys all tell you this in their own words. Benjamin Netanyahu was asked point blank a few months back what he thought of the Greater Israel Project, and he said it's very near and dear to my heart. Like, this is the point of denying the Palestinians a state for all these years. You can't let the Palestinians have a state, because then how are you going to take that all over someday? That's all supposed to be part of Israel. And the U.S. ambassador, not the Israeli ambassador, the U.S. ambassador to Israel is on record saying that God promised Iraq to Benjamin Netanyahu, and that God promised Lebanon and Saudi Arabia and the West Bank and parts of Syria, and all of this is Greater Israel. That is it. By the way, Sam Harris, where are you at on that? Where are the new atheists when you could finally use them for something? Hey, that's pretty crazy. Is that how we do politics? We work on this ridiculous religious superstition that somehow when God said Israel in Genesis, he was referring to the state that was created, that they named after that passage. This would literally be on the level, Joe, is if I named my son Jesus Christ, and then I told you, you have to worship my son. Look, it's right there in your Bible.
Exactly.
No, you named it after that, dude.
Yeah.
That doesn't count.
That's crazy. And they took the spot where it was.
Yeah, I mean, like,
they took over, and they did it in a horrific way, like the Nopco.
Yeah.
You listen to some of those soldiers, the translation of some of those soldiers talking about what they did, and even laughing about what they did.
Some of them even smiling.
In 1948.
Yes, because it wasn't in 1848.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, these guys weren't alive, but maybe not so many of them now, but like 20, 30 years ago, you could put a video camera in front of one of these guys and ask them to tell their story.
Right. And 78 years ago. It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And so, look, I mean, the idea here that America, after just 25 years of catastrophic failures, launching wars of choice, wars of aggression, lying the American people into it, just slaughtering millions of people, and like bankrupting this country and really severely degrading the country with these wars. The idea that we would jump into another war of choice for Israel is just too, like, this is too crazy, man. And especially when it's the administration that really ran on and promised that we want to get out of this game of fighting stupid wars in the Middle East.
That was what we were all supporting.
Yeah.
That was the one thing that he was saying that was so promising to so many people that were independent, that were on the fence. Like, this guy wants no wars. All right. Oh, he wants closing the border, which I think is a great idea.
Tänk till exempel att en träfiberskiva över skyltfönstret hjälper lite. IFs företagsförsäkring hjälper mycket.
I think it's a great idea. He wants no wars. That enough. Let's go.
Well, especially considering the fact that, well, like, even if there are some things about Donald Trump that maybe you don't like, but the other guys are saying you want to keep fighting forever wars, and this guy is saying we should stop doing that, that's enough to go, well, then he's better than you on net. And don't get me wrong, I mean, I endorsed Donald Trump in 24. People give me shit for this. Some people like that. Some people give me shit for it. But I kind of view it like this. Like, and I will say, maybe I'm a little biased here because I love you, but I don't think I'm being biased. I really think you played an enormous role in kind of like standing up to the progressive Democratic establishment and their narrative over the last, decade or so. And it's really hard to kind of overstate how crazy they were, how much of a threat to this country they were. And so for anybody who wants to give shit to anyone who voted for Donald Trump, it's like, hey man, the alternative was the party who bragged about, first off, insane woke shit, like poisoning the minds of children in a really grotesque and abusive way. They gave us open borders, flooding the country with people. They gave us all types of COVID tyranny based on pseudoscience. They gave us the most reckless foreign policy in American history, which was this proxy war on Russia's border. And they were pretending the president wasn't senile when he clearly was. Then they, in the fourth quarter, threw up a cackling retard who was not democratically picked in any process. And so, sorry, like, it does make sense that a lot of people went, okay, we're going to go back with this other guy. Also, there was an interesting dynamic happening in 24 where, okay, it's still a good thing. Konstantin was the one guy I saw who was like, no, I supported that one, but I am not getting on board with this one. And I give him a lot of credit for that. I give him a lot of credit for that.
I like that guy a lot. I like Francis a lot too.
I do too.
Their show, Trigonometry, is one of the best shows. Agree with them or not agree with them, they're always reasonable. They're never ideologically driven. They have opinions that you may or may not agree with, but they're real clear about their opinions and why they believe with them.
Yeah, that's right. And I will say,
And they're
like,
great guys.
yeah, genuinely great dudes.
Great guys.
I really like I get in a lot of like the shit show like arguments. I find myself in them. I probably should be better than them and just not engage, but I'm not, and I'm petty.
What do you
and
mean by
get
shit show?
like where it just becomes like an insult thing, or I intimated Alex Barron said, or it's kind of embarrassing in hindsight, but like I don't know, it gets me really angry when the guy's calling me a Holocaust denier or something like that. I think
What he
that's
was
crazy.
saying was kind of silly. The way he was saying it was silly, and he was just trying to play gotcha with you.
Yes.
And you called him a faggot.
Yeah, it's not my finest moment.
You
but
could tell he was really shaken by that.
Well, it's just
he expected that.
I kind of have a thing where, like, look, I'm really into this shit, and I nerd out on it, and I'm obsessed with all of this for whatever reason. It's just like my calling in life. But I'm also stand-up comic at heart,
Right.
And so, like, as soon as someone goes like, "Oh, I want to be vicious," you're like, "Oh, you want to be vicious?" Because like I'm pretty good at being vicious, so like I could do that, and you're probably not used to hearing this type of vicious shit that like comics say to each other.
Right.
But one of the things that I really appreciated about Francis and Konstantin was when I went to do their show, it was just like, it was genuinely a good faith conversation. And they weren't trying to like win the point or get a clip that they could go, we destroyed Dave. And then once they do that, I'm like, okay, well then I'm not trying to do that either, man. Like, let's talk about this shit. That's always what I'd rather do.
Yeah.
But the thing that's really interesting about this moment is that because the kind of corporate media propaganda apparatus has been completely destroyed, and because the internet and social media and podcasts are where people go now for conversations and debates and news and all this stuff, they're kind of like they're running without a propaganda apparatus. Like Israel in the last 2.5 years is down like 50 points in the polls, like in terms of American approval. Like they've just been it's a drastic change like I've never seen on any issue
Well, it's
over
the
the
first
last
time
few years.
in our lifetimes where it's been an issue that we are dealing with the consequences of the relationship.
That's right.
There's never been a time in the past where people were completely aware of, there's no other reason why we'd be going into Iran. Like most people don't think
100%.
if it wasn't for Israel asking us to, Netanyahu's consistent visits to the White House. Multiple.
You can't even pretend otherwise. I mean, people
But
can.
people do.
Yes, well, they try to, but people.
Coleman Hughes just got in a debate with Glenn Greenwald about it.
I saw that they did it. I have not had a chance to watch it yet.
Somebody sent it to me, and it was, I'm being a good boy when it comes to social media. It's been so good for my brain.
Yeah.
It's kind of remarkable. So I got
Just staying off. You mean?
Yeah. My new phone, I'm not going to put anything on it. I'm going to have my old phone and leave it at home, and I'm not going to be able to look at it. So when I have to post things, I've got to post it on my other phone that's not going to be with me. I'm not doing that anymore because I just think eventually, ultimately, it rots your brain. But you do get some cool debates and some insight into what's going on. And I don't know what Coleman's argument was, but Glenn and Coleman were arguing about Israel's influence on this.
Well, I'll be very interested to watch that. I do respect Coleman despite disagreeing with him very adamantly.
Very smart guy.
Very smart guy, no question
And a
about it.
very nice guy.
And look, one of the things I really respect about him is when I did his show, he literally starts it by going, he goes, almost all these debates I see you in, like you're kind of debating issues, and then people just debate your character. And he goes, I'm not doing that. I want to talk about the issues the whole time. And I just genuinely appreciate that.
I agree with him or disagree with him. He's a super reasonable guy and a very nice guy. I like him a lot. Whether I agree with him or disagree with him, he's a wonderful person.
I agree. This is what I will say about his position on this, which I think is kind of interesting. So number one, when I was on Piers Morgan with him right after Venezuela happened, and his position, I don't want to mischaracterize it, but I think this is pretty accurate, was he was like, look, a lot of people are comparing Venezuela to Iraq or Libya or Syria, but like that is a different region enough, hey, let's look at other interventions in Central and South America, because we've got a long list of really disastrous ones. Like if you want to look at Guatemala or Nicaragua or, you know, Cuba, Mexico, a whole bunch. But then, when this war in Iran starts, I don't see him going the equal opposite of that. Going, hey, now that we're at war with Iran, we have to judge this by Iraq and Afghanistan and Libya and Syria, because, you know what I'm saying? Like, that would be the flip side to the other position. And so I don't see that. The other thing is that when he's arguing with me about, because I was arguing that, you know, that is the Israel lobby and the Israeli government were a huge part of why we fought the war in Iraq. Right. And his big point that he stuck to, a lot of the hawks stick to this, is that Ariel Sharon was actually, who was the sitting prime minister at the time, he was actually against the war in Iraq. Now, that's not exactly true. He wanted George W. Bush to invade Iran first, not Iraq. And then when he got assurances that Iran would be next, he got on board. You could go look at Sharon's speech. He gave a speech, I think it was in August of 2002, to the Knesset, and it's all about how Iraq is the biggest threat, they have weapons of mass destruction, but the Mossad was cranking out all types of BS intelligence about the nuclear weapons that he could detonate in 15 minutes or whatever. It was all nonsense. But if you're gonna say that that is evidence that Israel was not pushing us into this because the sitting prime minister at the time didn't like this war, okay, but again, then how does the current sitting prime minister of Israel feel about this war in Iran? Because he's fighting it with us. And he said after it started that this is the culmination of his entire life's work. He has been trying to lie our government into this war for my entire lifetime. Coming here, he testified how many times in front of our Congress?
He testified with the cartoon of
at the UN.
Cartoon, a bomb cartoon with the percentages of the enriched uranium,
and like a Daffy Duck bomb, not
yes,
the bomb that'll blow your beak around to the other. Yes, and he was already up real high. He was already up real high. No, dude, he was on record saying that Iran was 3 to 5 years away from getting a nuclear weapon in the 90s.
In the 90s,
I mean, he's just been lying through his teeth. And there is something. Look, man, there's something really profoundly dishonorable about trying to lie another country into war. Like, not even trying to sell the war to your own people and have your own military do it, but because you can't.
There it is.
Yeah, there we are. We were up to 90%.
First stage. No, it was first stage we were at. He was saying they've hit the first stage.
Oh, excuse me. Okay, yeah, you're right. I guess this is, we can't go any further.
Bomb.
It's just so ridiculous. And he knows he's lying.
He's like your friend that, like, you've been friends with since high school, and every time you go out, he gets you in a fight.
Yeah.
They're like, dude,
yes.
Don't do this. Like, those guys over there are a fucking problem. Let's go over there and fuck them up. And, like, you know, all your buddies are like, dude, this guy again?
Dude, I used that exact analogy when I debated Josh Hammer at Princeton University. And, or maybe it was with Charlie Kirk. It was one of the times I debated him. But I used that exact analogy. He was like, is Israel an ally? And I was like, no. And it's like, they're not a good friend.
Bro.
If your friend's getting you in a bar fight every night, then stop hanging out with that guy.
Bro, Tim Dillon did an ad for NeuroGum and NeuroMints on his podcast where he's like, I have a friend, let's just call her Erica. And he does this Erica Kirk ad. He doesn't say it's Erica Kirk for NeuroGum. Have you heard it, James? Oh my god, it's so funny. Oh my god, it's so crazy. He's so out of his, I fucking love him so much. I'm so happy Tim Dillon's in the world. He's the best. If you're not listening to his podcast and you want a rational but hilarious take on all the fucking madness that's going on with not just this war, but the Epstein Files. His episode of the Epstein Files, I hardly ever tweet about other people's podcasts, but I hardly ever tweet, but I posted it. I'm like, this is one of the best podcasts about anything ever.
Tim's ability to, like, rant, it, like,
unprecedented.
Like a hilarious rant that is laced with excellent points, but it's just hilarious the whole time, and just him going off is second to none.
And he's sober. He just puts on his magic glasses.
It's him and Fuentes are the top two.
Oh, but he buries Fuentes. Fuentes is really good. Fuentes has...
Tim can do something different than anybody else can do.
Yeah, well, his ability to blend sarcasm and just celebration of chaos.
Yeah, it's second to none.
Best ranter that's ever walked the face of the planet.
I remember when I first met Tim in New York back better say something. But like, he's just
Listen to that. Listen
I
to
don't even know if I
that.
should tell this, but it does show how effective neuromints can be. A friend of mine, let's call her Erica. She's had a wild life, this woman. She was in Romania, she had an orphanage, she was on a reality show, she married this famous guy, she was an intelligence asset. And I said to her, how do you do this? And she says, Tim, it's Neuro's energy and focus mints. And I said, but how do you do it after the guy, the husband and father of the kids gets murdered and you're out there doing all kinds of stuff? You're doing fundraisers and you're dancing around with glitter dance. How does this happen? She goes, I could lie to you, but I'm telling you, it's Neuro's energy and focus mints. I said, really? She goes, sure. I said, how are you running this organization 7 hours after this guy got popped? She goes, a lot of people speculate, but it's Neuro's energy and focus mints. I go, really? She said, yeah, Neuro energy and focus is powered by natural green tea, caffeine, L-theanine for calm, focus, and vitamin B12 and B6 for...
I mean, whatever they're paying him, they should pay him more.
Yeah, it's not enough. No one can pay him enough. He's the GOAT.
Well, that'll also just make you remember that product forever. Trying to figure out how to turn this truck.
Is it broken? I'll get rid of that. He's the GOAT. He's he just I had someone in the White House come up to me and goes, "Is Tim Dillon really gay?" I go, "Yeah, he's really gay." Like, you think you would fake that?
Yeah.
He goes, "How long have you known him?" I go, "I've known him forever. He's really gay."
Yeah, well, he's a real good undercover, but every now and then you see it come out. Every now and then you see like I remember, and this back when he was young and he was broke at the time, but Tim was always kind of a snob even when he was broke. Like, it was always kind of, and I went, I forget what it was, but I was like, oh, we could get food from this restaurant, and he goes, from there? I go, no, they got good food, and he goes, you think that's good food? Like, because he's like a real like foodie or whatever.
Right.
And then it was just like, oh, I saw it for a second there.
Well, he used to have money because he had money when he was selling.
He had money in finance. Then he decided to
some
be
prime mortgages. And
yeah.
he was part of the housing crisis,
That's right.
and he was doing cocaine back then.
He did topple the U.S. economy for a while.
He was part of it.
But then he got into comedy. He more than made up for it. He's more than made up for that.
This is where he belongs.
Yeah.
He belongs in front of that screen with the glasses on, just going on these insane rants.
Oh yeah.
He's so funny, man.
And
Listen,
listen,
Epstein Files tape was fucking genius.
that was great, dude. His thing about Sam Harris having a meditation app and also supporting genocide. Dude, it's like the most hilarious thing ever. Like, what human being does both of those? Such a great take on that.
He's so funny, man. Yeah, we're lucky, dude. We're part of a really cool group of people right now. You know, it's a very unusual time that the mainstream has lost all of its power of influence on people. It still puts out information, it still puts out shows, but they're
Trying to look like you.
But they're fun. That Jay Tabor thing was so crazy. I was like, what are you doing? Are you doing a podcast now?
Dude,
What are you doing?
it's such a perfect like little microcosm though of like, it's almost painful. Like, I'm like, guys, just can you hire me? I mean, like,
But that
I
wouldn't
would
work
explain
either.
this to you.
No, it wouldn't work either because they're so trained. It's like if you get a dog and that dog has been maybe a cat might be a better example. Like, if you've never had a litter box in the house and the cat's been pissing all on the carpet, you are always going to have that cat piss on the carpet. That's what that cat does. You're not going to fix it. If your entire life you've been spitting out nonsense from a teleprompter, and now all of a sudden you have to be yourself, you've been functioning in a world of executives and producers where everybody goes over every little thing you say and do. You 100% read things you know aren't true, or at least partially aren't true.
Oh yeah. Their whole setup is they're all trying to look like podcasters.
No, wait a minute. They put mics out like podcasters. That's crazy. Imagine if they think that's all it takes.
But Joe, talk about completely missing the point, right? It's just fundamentally missing it. Is that they actually go, okay, So all of these people have left, watching cable news in troves. And now a lot of people listen to podcasts. They'll listen to you or Theo Vaughn or whoever it might be. And a huge reason, right, why you've been number one for so long now is because however anyone feels about you, you're authentic. And it's very hard to deny that. One of the biggest questions I get when people meet me, if I do meet and greet after shows or something, it's what's Joe Rogan like? Is a question I get all the time because we're buddies and I've been on the show a lot of times, and people love you, and they'll go, "What's Joe Rogan like?" And I always tell them the same thing. I go, "You already know. You already know who he is. He's that guy." And then off stage, he's that guy. You know what I mean? That's who he is. And people like that. People like that. Whatever you think about Theo Vaughn, he's authentic. He's being himself. That's who he is.
That's how it works.
And because you guys in the corporate media are all professional liars and have lied to the American people about the last 17 crises, they don't trust you anymore. And so then their reaction to that is you go, well, what if we pretended to be podcasters? No, you dummy! That's the whole thing. This is just proving further how inauthentic you are. You're pretending. Here's
meetings on this.
100%. 100% they do. Dude, this was to me, despite the fact that and people can take shit about voting for Donald Trump, and they can say I should have known better and whatever. I was a huge critic of him in his first term, and I'm a huge critic of him in his second term. But the best thing about Donald Trump winning in 24, and I did predict this right. I'm not always the best with predictions. I'm pretty good on issues, I think, but I'm not great at predictions. They're tough. But the best thing about Donald Trump winning was that the corporate media finally admitted it. They had been pretending for so long. I remember we used to joke about it. I remember coming on a few years ago, and we would joke about how Brian Stelter would always, whenever he talked about you, he would always kind of go the fringe Joe Rogan. As if he's the mainstream and you're the fringe. As if the numbers aren't readily available to all of us, that we could be your show has 200,000 listening and his has 20 million. So how is he the fringe and you're the mainstream?
I think they thought that.
Well, maybe they believed it, but that 24, the election, that's when they all admitted it. And then the talking point moved to, we need to find our own Joe Rogan. The Democrats need to find a Joe Rogan.
Oh, that was
whatever. Remember, that was so they kind of admitted that, the podcasts have become the new mainstream and we are the fringe.
Right, but the dumb part of that statement was you already had me, you fucking idiots. Just lost your mind. I'm not right and I'm not left.
Yeah.
I think both of them suck. And I think the adherence to the ideologies that the left supports or the right supports is out of their fucking... You gotta be out of your fucking mind. Whether it's these crackpot Christian nationalists that think that this whole war is a way to get Jesus to return on a white horse.
Yeah.
Do you see those guys that were talking, during the readiness fucking meeting? I think that's nuts too. I think the woke shit and all the chaos of the fucking last 4 years of having a completely open border and the justifications of all these things, that's nuts too. I'm not on anyone's side.
But
so
I think
the Democrats aren't ever going to get someone like me because I'm not with either or. With either or. I'm with whoever fucking makes sense, and no one makes sense until AI comes along. I think they're going to do a really good job. President Perplexity is going to run this country fairly and balanced.
Man, I'm willing to try it at this point.
I'm dead serious, man. As long as it doesn't do something to harm people, as long as that's its goal. Its goal is just to manage society.
It's a big if that you got there, but yes, if we can get that. Well, look, but what you just said, I think is really This is something that I'm encouraged by. Is that I think what you just said there, I really do believe that you speak for super majorities of the American people. And that's why, even though Donald Trump has shattered his coalition by lying us into this stupid war on behalf of a foreign country, that coalition is still ripe for someone else to pick it up and run with it. And that's kind of what I'm hoping. I hope Thomas Massey runs for president. I think, by the way, they're doing a big money bomb for Thomas Massey on March 30th. And I think him winning re-election in Congress is the most important political election in the country right now. Because he's done nothing wrong except actually stand up for America first and for all the stuff that Donald Trump and Tulsi Gabbard and all these people ran on. And he's gotten the Israel lobby and the Adelsons, but I repeat myself, have been pouring millions of dollars into his race to try to unseat him for the crime of not going along with the Epstein cover-up and not going along with another stupid war and having some fiscal sanity. So I hope he wins.
Imagine those being three negatives. Imagine those being 3 negatives that people are saying he's not MAGA.
Yeah. Well then,
What is-
okay.
what
well
is
then,
MAGA then?
Well, if that's like, I don't know. Like my position is always like, if you're saying if not supporting covering up the Epstein files or not supporting a stupid war of choice, a war of aggression on behalf of Israel means I'm not MAGA, then okay, I'm not MAGA. I'm not attached to the the phrase "Make America Great Again." I don't care. Then
But
fine.
if that phrase sucks. Here's the thing. Like, first of all, America is great. Make America greater, I'm down. But make America great again, and then it becomes a movement of a bunch of fucking dorks. Because a lot of them are dorks. A lot of them, these really weird, fucking uninteresting, unintelligent people that have got something they cling to. And there's a lot of people that are just real, genuine patriots. And they're all lumped into this one group, and you got to accept the dorks too. Fuck that.
Yeah.
Like, the concept of making America great is a great idea. But as soon as you have a fucking team and you allow anybody to join up, you don't even have tryouts for your team.
Yeah.
So you've got a bunch of fucking dipshits that are running around spouting out opinions, and you have to go along with them because they're MAGA. And then you've got bots online that are probably from fucking Indonesia or Russia or wherever, and they're pretending they're MAGA and they're saying crazy shit. So that's a part of MAGA too. You've fucked up by becoming a part of a group.
Yeah.
Whether
No,
it's
that's
a
right.
Republican group, a Democrat group, a MAGA group, a fucking woke group, whatever it is, you fucked up by being in a group.
Yeah, what is it? George Carlin said people are great as individuals.
Yeah.
But when they get in a group, man, they're the worst things in the world. And that's why it should be about the issues. It should be about your principles and what you believe in. And and you should be like, look, like I've said many nice things about Tulsi Gabbard over the years, and I was extremely critical of her since last summer into now, because I think she's lying us into a war, which is the war that she was always opposed to. The one. She sold no war with Iran t-shirts. She like this was
How is she lying us into this war?
So well,
Because that's a big statement.
yeah, absolutely. And it's true. So last summer, so Tulsi Gabbard had given her as the director of national intelligence does every year, they give their annual threat assessment, and she testified before Congress about it. And it was very clear in her annual threat assessment that Iran was not attempting to build nuclear weapons, that they had not yet made the political decision to attempt to build nuclear weapons, let alone like are actually going for it. And she testified before Congress saying the same thing. And then while they were negotiating, Israel sneak attacks them. Then she had some post where she goes, Iran could be weeks or months away from nuclear weapons, which was total bullshit. It made absolutely no sense at all.
Let me see what the post says.
Sure. This is from, if you could find it, this is from it must have been last June.
Right, but is that a fact?